Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the 2026 Climate Action Kickoff. We are so incredibly glad that you are here this evening. It's really nice to start the year with really good energy together. Slides right here. Because truly, every single person that shows up and makes the commitment to organize for a better planet and healthier communities really does make a difference. So, thank you again for taking the time to come out and learn, be a part of our team. So before we dive into things, we'll just do some quick introductions here, just so everyone knows who we are. I'll start us off. I'm Chelsea Alexander. I use she, her, aya pronouns. I work as the Movement Building and Volunteer Director at 350 Colorado, and I am based in Lakewood, West Denver. I'll send it over to Heidi.
And I'm Heidi Leithwood. I'm the climate policy analyst with 350 Colorado. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm based in Denver. And I'll pass it off to Matt.
Hey everybody, my name is Matt Gose, and I am based out of Arvada, Colorado, and I am the Promoting Climate Solutions Coordinator here at 350 Colorado. And I'll pass it to Bridget if she's here. I think she joined. Yeah, there she is. I'll pass it over to Bridget.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Bridget. I am the development director and I use she, her pronouns. It's so nice to see you all. And I was originally based in Boulder, but I'm actually in Wisconsin right now. So that's a fun fact. Yeah, and I'll pass it back.
Thank you. And honestly, we'd love to meet all of y'all. We don't have time, unfortunately, for everyone to introduce themselves, but if folks could use the chat and yeah, share your name, your pronouns if you'd like, where you're based, and something you're interested in when it comes to organizing or 350 Colorado or our campaigns. We'll also have a poll here tonight as well, where we'd love to learn that, but it would be great to start hearing that. So start dropping it in the chat and we can hopefully start putting some names to faces as well as we get started here. And while folks are doing that, this is a little overview of what to expect this evening. We'll talk just a little bit about who 350 Colorado is, recognizing that we have some seasoned activists here with us that have been a part of efforts, and so you know who we are. We also have some new people. And then we'll talk about kind of the climate crisis recap from last year, looking at those layers of global events, national, and then local here in Colorado. We'll talk about our shared strengths, generate some more good energy for ourselves and for the year, and then really get into the heart of this call where we talk about the goals that drive our campaigns and our committees and our local teams and the corresponding roles that you are hopefully interested in and want to be a part of and plug into, because it takes each and every one of us to be a part of that. Then we'll have that poll, and then we will energize ourselves forward from that point. And thank you to those dropping in the chat. Loving to see our Denver friends, Carbondale, just in local action, clean power, lobbying. Nice. We got a really good spread here. Well, with that, just to talk a little bit about who we are, I'm going to send it over to Matt here.
All right. Yeah, so y'all are either, some of you are familiar with 350 Colorado and some are fairly new, but I'm just going to give a little bit of background about, who we are and why we do what we do, and the way we do it. So we are a grassroots movement, and what that really means is that we're really built from the ground up. Volunteers like you and everybody else that are, affiliated with 350 Colorado, allow us to really make big moments and change. We're going to talk about it a little bit later. But with like all kinds of different bills and whatnot, the more people that testify, the more likely that bill is to either pass or fail if we're trying to oppose it. Yeah, we are also working. Our biggest main goal here is to work towards a future that's powered by 100% renewable energy, and to empower communities across Colorado to join together and fight for environmental justice. We want to make sure that all these voices are included. Through a lot of these different volunteer-led teams, we have leadership councils that we'll be talking about in a minute here as well, and a variety of tactics as pertaining to like legislation and direct action. We're really trying to work all of those to take on the climate crisis. And if you've heard of other 350 organizations, there's other chapters out there. But we're an independent state affiliate of the you know big group 350.org, started by Bill McKibben. So yeah, we work in conjunction with a lot of these other 350 groups, and it's great to be a part of such a great and big network. But a couple of these pillars that you're seeing here are different campaign areas that we focus on. So yeah, building that grassroots movement is that first foundational step. But we also work on keeping fossil fuels in the ground, opposing fracking and all of that good stuff, promoting the solutions that currently exist, like solar, renewable energy across the board, as well as regenerative agriculture. And then lastly here is defunding climate disaster, stopping the flow of money from these banks and these insurance companies that allow fossil fuels to keep expanding and growing. So with that, we can go to the next slide here, kind of the ways that we go about it. So it can happen in a lot of different ways, but really the ways that we kind of go about it are, sometimes it's never like fully disruptive. We're never going to put you in harm's way, and we don't want to be in harm's way ourselves. But definitely hosting different rallies and whatnot outside of buildings that need to be held accountable. I think about in the past, we did work with the Defunding Climate Disaster Committee against Chase Bank. They are one of the largest fossil fuel financiers. So, doing a big information session out in front of there. And then making sure that, people that are plugging in and all of you that are here, finding your own path and finding what you're interested in. There's a lot of different ways to plug in, and I know that can feel overwhelming. We're going to try to keep it as concise as possible. But if you hear like maybe one or two things that sound really interesting to you, kind of hang on to that, and we'll be able to kind of point you in the right direction of where to go. And also knowing that, we're in a state right now, I guess a country right now that is, currently an authoritarian state. And, it's not like authoritarianism is coming. It's currently here. And combating it and trying to show people that we don't have to just accept it. And we know that none of this is easy. It's a very daunting thing when you think about it. But in the solidarity of everybody together and this level of organizing, struggle will happen, but then you can celebrate those wins as well. So yeah, I think that it's hitting my time there. There's a lot more that I could say about it, and if you have any questions, we'll be sticking around at the end to answer a lot of those too. But yeah, I'll pass it back to you, Chelsea.
Thanks, Matt. So yeah, now having just a little bit of maybe grounding about who we are and how we're envisioning moving into 2026 further with y'all, we want to just do some recapping of what went down last year and using that as also further means to ground ourselves and know how to best approach our tactics and strategies this year. So starting with that global view, maybe first important here to say that we don't have enough time to talk about everything that went down, right? But we tried to pick out some things that we see as the really good stuff, the inspiring, the stuff that's moving us forward, and then the maybe not so good stuff, the things that we still have to contend with. And so on the good side of things, last year was pretty amazing in that first, in both India and China, coal power fell tremendously. In fact, for the first time since 1973, electricity generation from coal power fell in both of those countries. And it's important to note that both India and China together roughly are accountable for about 40% of the annual CO2 carbon emissions from fossil fuels in the industry. So with both of these ginormous, powerful countries doing their part, reducing coal, that's really amazing and really good for our air and slowing the heating of our planet. In addition to that, the EU also saw a number of air pollutants plummet, really kind of hitting all of their clean air pledges well earlier than they said they would. And so over 27 pollutants, things like sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide, ammonia, all of those were tremendously cut down from rates that were agreed upon in 2016, putting those targets about 16% ahead of the 2030 targets. So despite what things are happening at the federal level and our own country's failings at meeting this moment, other parts of the world are truly stepping up and filling that gap and standing firm in their goals despite the pushback. And that's something definitely to be proud of and to know that collectively across the globe, we can all do this together. But on the not so good side, 2025 did go down as the third hottest year on record. 2024 is holding the title as number one. So at least 2025 didn't beat that title, but it was a hot year, right? And that causes a lot of disruption when it comes to drought, melting ice caps. That was another low point to identify in 2025, that another significant planetary boundary was crossed, that being the steady acidification of the oceans and damage done to coral reefs, and a record amount of ice that melted from Greenland and Antarctica's ice sheets. So that raising ocean levels, right, and causing a number of other disruptions. And within all that, I'm sure we are all well aware and remember the painful, instances throughout 2025 when there were severe, unprecedented weather disasters and significant pollution still that either displaced, harmed, or killed collectively millions of people, many premature deaths, many unnecessary, avoidable layers of suffering, right? And so hopefully, even with these hard points to sit with, we can really identify how there is still a lot of urgency in this moment. It is tough, but we have to keep moving forward to not just protect the planet, but protect the people that have a right to live on their land and continue to be stewards of it and live safely with access to, yeah, food and shelter and education and healthcare and all those things. So, yeah, the good and the bad. Um, with that, I will send it over to Matt.
Yeah. So yeah, kind of narrowing our scope down to the United States, and then after this, even more local of Colorado. Um, I'll start here with the good. So some of the good things that have happened in 2025 are that battery prices for EVs and stationary storage has fallen, reaching a new record low. They cost about 45% less than they did in 2024, which is a huge improvement for affordability, which is awesome. It's also, is going to increase the lifespan of a lot of EVs that exist out there, and also the capabilities for them to be charged by, solar and other um, renewable things. Well, in tandem with that, clean energy was on the up and up. And this has kind of got a little bit of a caveat to it, but yeah, for the first time in U.S. history, clean energy, renewables specifically, supplied over 51, well, over half, so 51% of the nation's electricity in March of 2025. Granted, yes, that's only 1 month. And also, what we're going to be able to read in this next one here is that energy usage as a whole has gone up in the United States as well. So the last thing on the good that I think is worth calling out here as well is that there was a lot of public demonstration, coming out against this authoritarian regime that does not care about our planet. The biggest spike was on October 18th for the No Kings protest. So I guess I could kind of fix that little blurb right there. It's not in its entirety, but for that day, 7 million people across the United States protested for No Kings Day. So that's huge. People showing up and showing out. Onto that not so good side, like we said, for the first time in 3 years, U.S. carbon emissions rose by 2.4%. As we know, Donald Trump's big thing is bringing back coal. And that's something that, as Chelsea mentioned in the last slide, the whole world is moving away from. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that we're going back for it. Along with that, with the AI data centers down there below, and the Big Beautiful Bill. The Big Beautiful Bill was signed that, has hurt Americans in a lot of ways, but above everything else has kind of pulled us out of our climate agreements that we had originally, been under. Finally, there is a major attack, I feel like, on health and welfare with these AI data centers. They're coming and using so much energy, taking up so much land, and most importantly, using up so much water. Yeah, so that is something that's we're really invested in right now in the United States, and yeah, is something that's even kind of coming for Colorado, and I'm sure Heidi might talk about that here on the next slide. So I'll pass it over to you, Heidi.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And with what's going on at the federal level, state action is all the more important. We did have some good things happening here in Colorado. Renewables accounted for 43% of electricity generation, which was a record, with wind power being 2/3 of that renewables. And coal-generated electricity is down 60% from what it was a decade ago. The state agencies continue to pass rules mandated by law to reduce emissions. One of the latest was for methane pollution from landfills. And coalition building continues for working on strong climate action. We're a member of Colorado Coalition for a Livable Climate, which has 53 member groups. It's increasing all the time, and there are also a number of groups that aren't in that coalition that are working on climate action along with us. Not so good is the fact we're already suffering impacts from drought, warming temperatures, extreme heat, and other extreme weather. And despite all the efforts that we're taking so far, the state's getting further and further behind on the greenhouse gas emissions reductions that are required by our state law. And now there's a push on multiple fronts to keep coal plants open longer. The Public Utilities Commission just approved a plan to keep the Unit 2 coal plant in Pueblo open an extra year. Trump ordered the Craig coal plant to remain open, and now a bill is being introduced to allow other utilities to delay their clean energy plans, which could easily result in delaying closure of polluting coal plants. And I'll pass it back with that.
Thanks, y'all. So I think it's important before we shuttle ourselves into the other parts of this call here is just to really notice that, with the good and the bad, it all is something that we have to sit with together collectively, right? Sometimes the journey can feel like one step forward to take two steps back. But despite all that, we really want to just underscore our deep gratitude for how each and every one of you showed up in some shape or form last year, whether it was with 350 Colorado or another organization or at No Kings or whatever form of grassroots organizing you were trying out or continuing in. We really can't celebrate those wins at any level without each of us doing that work. And we just really, again, want to say how inspired and uplifted we are, and by the ways that people show up and dedicate themselves and make sacrifices despite the uncertainties and the difficulties. Each and every one of us are leaders that are helping create that better future. Because with being able to do that, we just have to really recognize and not lose sight of our shared strengths that we have in doing this, right? There might be a lot working against us, but there's certainly a lot working for us. And, the first thing being that we're on what we would say is the right side of history. We're doing something in the face of uncertainty. We're trying despite the challenges. And we are organizing for not just, mitigating the worst impacts of the climate crisis, but for things like compassion and justice and equality and liberation and harmony with the living world, not just constantly taking from it. And so without having the luxury of knowing if our efforts are going to make a difference, we again can find grounding and peace, hopefully, in knowing that we're doing what we can. And when we look back in the future, we'll know that it was on the right side of history. And we have community and relational organizing in doing that, right? Grassroots organizing really shouldn't be viewed as a solo sport. It's a team effort. It takes being in community with one another to have each other's backs and to show up for one another when the times get tough or when we're tired or burnt out or need to take a step back. That's all normal, and it's all a part of that journey. So know that each and every one of us here with 350, we have your back. We're here to help out when the times get tough, because we pull a lot of our efforts and our momentum to go forward from a sense of active hope. The clear view of reality that we just talked about, right? It's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's plenty of difficult things that we have to keep standing up against. But with active hope, when we've identified what we are hoping for, we can then move with more confidence in that direction of a world that's built with things like justice and equality and inclusion. We take steps, no matter how big or small, that move our situation collectively in that direction. And so active hope is something that, again, we have to find continued renewed strength from. So if anyone wants to talk things like around Joanna Macy's work of The Great Unraveling, Would love to connect with you on a personal note, as that's a very inspiring source of work in what we do. So hopefully, again, we can all feel that shared strength that we have, especially when the times get tough and we need to lean on one another. And so with that, let's shift into talking about the goals that drive our committees and our local teams and the ways that you can be a part of it. Maybe you have a pen and paper ready, or something to help you just track what's calling out to you and what excites you, because there's going to be a number of things that we touch on. And yeah, we hope you're excited or intrigued by a few things, and that we'll be here to support you in the next steps that it takes to get plugged into those things. And so starting with movement building, my favorite area, biasly speaking here, looking at statewide and then into the local lens. So on the statewide level of building a powerful grassroots movement, in the long term, we want more and more people across Colorado to join, regardless of their experience, regardless of their background, right? We need a critical mass movement that centers justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, our principles that guide our organizing. And we have to keep prioritizing collaboration within coalitions, community partners, all the different players that, have significant roles in moving things forward. In the short term, like what we're doing tonight, one of our goals is to really just engage people to do their part in the ways that they can in the most ongoing, sustainable way possible. Not that folks can't take breaks or, meet the moments of life when they come to you as well. But really, my role here is to help you be the best climate activists you can be. And so I'm here to help you be connected to one another. Those of you who are all here in Denver, I hope you maybe are open to connecting with each other and finding buddies in this organizing. Having those connections builds resiliency, which we need healthy doses of from day to day to keep things moving. And within that too, there's got to be a lot of passion, right? Passion is really what ignites this work and inspires others to join and lets people see that there are ways to be a part of something, no matter what your background is, as long as you care deeply about your community and the planet, clean air, clean water, those things all matter. And I'm always one to really double down on having fun. We have to find ways to have fun in this journey because joy is an act of resistance. The forces that be that try to keep people down and hurt the planet and extract and take and pollute, they win when we are so demoralized that this doesn't feel like fun anymore. And so we have to find ways, despite the challenges or the setbacks, to maybe not always take it so seriously, but find ways to play and to have joy and to just really enjoy what we're doing. And I feel like this Dolores Huerta quote really summarizes it, a significant grassroots leader in the United Farmers Workers movement. Every moment is an organizing opportunity, every person a potential activist, every minute a chance to change the world. You all being here tonight is very much so a part of that too, just to say. And so to move these long-term and short-term movement building goals forward across the state, we have a few ways that we're looking for people to do that. The first being that we are growing our tabling and outreach crew. So these are the folks that are signing up for those shifts to be in-person opportunities like farmers markets or film festivals or the parade that was on Monday for Dr. Martin Luther King Day. Those types of in-person opportunities are so important for folks like y'all to be able to come and share your passion about why you're involved and to inspire others to join as well. A lot of those opportunities do happen during the weekday, but a lot of them do happen on the weekend as well. And so when folks sign up, I'll send all the confirmation details you need. I'll give you the training that you need to feel confident. You'll never do it alone, as you see our two cool teammates there in the picture that were a part of tabling efforts last year. And so being a part of the tabling outreach crew is very flexible and again, very, very fun to do. We're also looking for folks of any experience level, truly, to be a part of kind of our team of speakers and presenters. That could be for events that are happening online like this one, or in-person events like our local team meetings, trainings that we're putting on. Anyone that we bring in to support this type of movement building is always going to get the support that they need. So if someone wanted to help present on tonight's call, for example, I would have met with you before this call. We would have went over the details and looked at the slides, answer your questions, provide some tips maybe if needed, and practice what that looks like. And so I know public speaking is not everyone's bag, but I do encourage folks to consider this one, because after you try it a time or two in a number of informal and maybe more formal settings, I think folks can find a number of ways that they can use their voice and their passion again to inspire others and bring other people in. And the last way to call out is with our Youth Action Committee. This is our statewide committee that is specific for our youth leaders that are 24 and younger. And there are so many ways for folks to activate in this space in particular. If you know younger people or have children, nieces or nephews, we need more YAC members, as we call them, to be activating around the different campaigns that you're going to hear more about tonight. We need youth leaders and voices in those spaces to help make a difference. Could also be a part of planning trainings that happen to skill build and level up different youth leaders. And a very exciting opportunity, in fact, that's just on the horizon, is our Youth Colorado Climate Lobby Day that's going to be happening in Denver on Friday, February 20th. Youth leaders from all over the state are going to be coming together and have a training in the morning before heading over to the Capitol to meet with key legislators to talk about bills that they want to see passed. And it truly makes a difference to have younger people that are a part of that particular type of organizing. So again, if you know any young folks that you think might be interested, we'd love to have them be a part of it. We have wonderful co-chairs that are in high school that are leading that space. And so, yeah, we'd love to connect and share more about that. And that covers the statewide lens. So just to round out movement building here on the local level, because I see in the chat a lot of people identified that desire for local organizing. We have 5 teams across the state that you see listed up there: Boulder County, Northern Colorado, Metro Denver, Colorado Springs, and Roaring Fork. And while each of these teams do have their own strategic plan that guides their work forward for movement building and campaigns and a little bit of fundraising, there's a lot of overlap between all of these local teams. And so the goals that you see here are ones that they are all sharing collectively. They're all looking to bring in more new people, right? So that they can grow the local impact and have more distributed efforts. They all want to be able to host a variety of online and in-person workshops, and webinars, and trainings, so newer people or inexperienced people can build confidence and build skills. And they're all very busy as well, working on a number of statewide campaigns that we're going to talk about, as well as local ones that are specific to their area and are happening right there in their backyard. And I wish I had more time to share a few more details about that. But if you're interested in some of this local stuff, please let me know. I would really love to connect. Because local teams are also, as I said earlier, trying to have fun, especially at their team meetings each month that they hold and the events they're putting on. Having that opportunity to connect in person, like you see here with the Colorado Springs team, it really brings to life grassroots organizing in a way that we truly need and can't always sometimes get if we're strictly in an online space. But of course, we do need people online as well working on things. So last points to make here on the ways in which people can plug into these local teams. The biggest need right now really comes down to some leadership roles, specifically leadership council members and co-chairs. These are roles that can be hybrid as well as remote or online. But really the main commitment is being ready for that monthly Zoom meeting to meet with other leadership council members and co-chairs and to discuss plans for the upcoming month and following months. That could be also planning a little bit around some campaigns, but primarily it's about movement building. So being ready to connect with other teammates, plan fun team meetings, things like that. We also need folks across the board to do a little bit more tech support. And this takes a lot of different options here. That could be if you enjoy creating snazzy graphics, that could be used to promote meetings or to promote campaigns. We have a Canva account that we're happy to share with you. So if that's something you enjoy doing, yeah, let us know. We would love your help with that. Using those graphics too to post on the respective social media channels on Instagram and Facebook for each of these teams is something we really would love to see happen and revitalize some of those pages a little more. And even supporting crafting the weekly team emails that go out. We need different voices and perspectives to talk about upcoming opportunities or to share the success of something that they were a part of. Like you see here with the Climate Lobby Day, one of the crews that was in the Denver team. And so more ways than just that with tech support that could happen. But the last thing I'll call out is champions that are ready to support executing and planning the monthly team meetings that each of these local teams have. So if you are on our website, which I'll drop the link in the chat in just a minute, you'll see that we have a calendar where we have all of these monthly team meetings listed that happen in person. And so the more people that we could get to kind of step up and share their fun ideas, plan cool activities, lead discussions in those meetings, take pictures, just more people kind of having that shared ownership of their local area and their teammates that are a part of that work. We've seen this grown tremendously in the last year, and we want to keep it going through the rest of 2026. So for all the Denver-based people here, I hope I see you at maybe one of those in-person team meetings where we hold them and yeah, have an opportunity to connect directly and be a part of that. And so I'll curve myself there because it's very easy to talk a lot about the fun ways to do movement building. But we will shift into talking more now about our campaigns, and I will send it over to Heidi.
Thanks, Chelsea. I'm going to talk about climate policy. And as the policy analyst, I look at potential laws and bills that have been introduced to determine where to put our energies. And I provide support to our members to make their voice heard for and against bills. So in order to put our laws into action, we get involved in the agency rulemakings. Rulemakings are where laws are actually put into action in granular detail, and agency rules have the force of law. So it's really where the rubber meets the road because the laws can't have any effect without the agency rules. And this is where the public voice comes in, and there are multiple opportunities to comment, shape rule development, and hold agencies accountable if their rules and enforcement don't live up to the intent of the law. And next, I'll move on to look at some roles that we have. So my biggest need is to find one person who is interested in helping maintain our calendar tracker with important dates. And this involves signing up for agency updates so you get emails from them when there are things coming up. Also going onto their websites and clicking around to find things to learn about upcoming opportunities for public comment on the issues that are important to our mission. Also timelines and deadlines for rulemaking procedures and kind of keeping track of what the agencies are doing and when are the important dates for us to get involved. And then entering those dates and the info, like links to the information into a Google spreadsheet that can help us keep track of what's coming up when. And computer literacy is really important for this role so that it doesn't take more time than is needed. The time commitment for this is about 2 hours per week, I'd say, or less, just going into websites and clicking around. Also, we always need people and as many people as possible to submit comment on the rulemakings and on proposed laws, like in legislative committee hearings. This could be once per month, or sometimes there are more opportunities than that. And here's what this looks like. We provide you with a lot of support in the form of talking points, context, background, and toolkits to walk you through with everything that you need. You can comment in writing, or you can show up on Zoom, and in some cases in person if you want. The time commitment really varies with this. It could range from 15 minutes of a written comment submission to potentially a couple of hours of having your Zoom meeting turned on in the background while you do other stuff, and then unmuting yourself to talk for a couple minutes when it's your turn. Other opportunities with our volunteer policy committee are writing letters to the editor or opinion pieces on upcoming rules or bills. You could also join our small work group that's delving in more deeply on utilities regulation events. We meet for about an hour bi-weekly, and then we put in a few hours at a time as needed on writing and researching group comments, creating toolkits and template comments for our members, or working together on opinion pieces. And some of the policies upcoming are working towards a potential climate super fund to make polluters pay for all the climate damages. We're also trying to make sure that utilities move far more quickly to 100% renewable energy, and working towards, as I'll talk about in a moment, working towards a phase out of new fracking permits, and numerous other rules and regulations to try to make sure our greenhouse gas emissions are reduced as fast as possible in state. And with that, I'll pass it along.
All right. Thanks, Heidi. So yeah, the Promoting Climate Solutions blanket is pretty large. So there's four different, I guess, committees you can plug into, but I'm going to kind of start with the top down, what we are, then I'll go into our long-term goals and short-term goals. So this whole sector here is really to support all of our campaign goals of achieving emissions reductions and carbon reductions and providing solutions to the climate crisis. That's like the very succinct way to say it. But in the long term, we want to secure, support, and amplify pro-climate ecological policies at every level of the legislative process, and then stop the funding of fossil fuel expansion. As I was mentioning earlier, major banks like Citibank and Chase Bank are financially backing these extraction companies that are able to go out and do this, and people that are profiting from it. They're also being insured by a lot of these different kind of shady insurance companies doing the same kind of thing, driving up insurance prices, as climate impacts worsen, for like wildfires, for example. And then, yeah, finally there, the more fun side of it is promoting solutions to the climate crisis. We've had all kinds of speakers come into our Promoting Climate Solutions Committee and talk about everything from solar and how you can get solar installed onto your own home, how you can do it yourself even, all the way to the environmental impact of your diet. So it's pretty wide ranging. But in the short term, we work on legislative action. We work very closely with the Climate Policy Group to activate on pieces of legislation. I'll actually be dropping a few links in the chat here just if people want to check things out. But yeah, we also talk about lobbying for these environmental bills and against ones that would really set us back. And then, yeah, bringing in those experts like I had mentioned. So these four different committees here, I'll let you guys kind of read through them. They're kind of in chronological order. So just Promoting Climate Solutions will be on that first Wednesday of the month from 6 to 7 p.m. And then on those first and third Tuesdays of the month, we'll have their Constituent Climate Project. That's all really centered about getting closer with your legislator and developing a relationship with them. Speaking to them about generalized climate impacts and how it's affecting Colorado, and trying to get them to commit to go for pro-climate legislation. We have the Legislative Action Committee, which is very bill focused, like I had mentioned earlier. We go through bills, bill updates every other week, and we talk about opportunities, like Heidi was saying, to testify for said bills or to call your legislator and let them know how you feel about that bill. Obviously, we provide talking points as well and give you a good bit of background on those bills as well. But it's also an opportunity sometimes, if you know about a piece of legislation that we don't, to kind of like share with us as well, and we've learned from different people that way. And then finally, we have our Defunding Climate Disaster Committee. That is, on the third Friday of the month from 4 to 5 p.m. So yeah, a lot of different ways to plug in. So I'll skip over to the roles section here. And then after I'm done talking, I'm going to drop a few links in the chat here. Uh, so yeah, for our Promoting Climate Solutions Committee, we could really use a co-chair. It's actually the only one of these committees, so I guess the Constituent Climate Project as well, that doesn't have a co-chair right now. And what that kind of looks like is you get to kind of look around, and just like I do on a kind of regular basis, and find people that are experts in their field, have them present to our group. Sometimes if you have a story or you've maybe suffered from a climate impact and you have a resilience story, sharing your own as well. And then as well as a note taker, which will be pretty common for all of these committees. It's much more difficult than you think to speak and also catalog everything that's going on at the same time. Yeah, the next thing is our Constituent Climate Project. I'll actually drop a link in the chat here for anyone that's interested in registering. Yeah, we are looking for, oh, sorry, I accidentally skipped a slide ahead. We're looking for a legislative meeting assistant, kind of helping people secure these meetings with their legislators. It can be kind of daunting for people doing it the first time, and we're growing this project relatively quickly for how long it's been around. But we still only have, I think, about 12 members, so we're trying to grow and grow and grow so that people can find constituents in their same groups. The Legislative Action Committee, also looking for one more co-chair. And that kind of looks like, yeah, monitoring bills, noticing when things are changing. Also can help with planning agendas and facilitating parts of meetings. Legislative watchdoggers, which is a lot like what Heidi was saying earlier, kind of keeping tabs on a lot of these legislators and the bills and how they're moving. And then, yeah, folks willing to testify. I think that's one of the most important things. So if you can't really commit to any other role, but you're interested in being involved in the Legislative Action Committee, testifying for these important bills will be really important. And then lastly, we have our Defunding Climate Disaster Committee is in need of a note taker, but I wanted to flag this bonus opportunity. We host an event every year called Climate Lobby Day, and it's, I think, one of our bigger events that we do. We train each and every one of you how to citizen lobby for pro-environmental legislation, but obviously that can be taken personally as well to bills that you really care about. We all meet at the Capitol after we have these 2 training sessions that we do one last crash course, and then we all head over there and lobby for pro-environmental legislation as a big unit. It's a big community building moment, and last year we partnered with over 55 environmental organizations on this Climate Lobby Day. So it's very intersectional in this movement too. I'm going to drop a few links in the chat here and pass it on for our few different opportunities that are existing out there. So with that, I'll pass it over to Heidi.
Thanks, Matt. I'm speaking on this campaign, although we have a new Beyond Oil and Gas coordinator coming on board, and so I'm sure you'll be hearing from her soon, Sandra. This important part of our campaign has as its mission and long-term goal to achieve an end to new fracking permits and a just transition for workers and communities away from their dependence on fossil fuel extraction. We all know that in addition to transitioning away from the use of fossil fuels, we need to transition away from taking it out of the ground. Globally, fossil fuel companies already have projects planned that will extract twice as much as we need if we're going to meet climate goals. In the short term, in Colorado, this work takes the form of uplifting and connecting communities in the front lines of Colorado fracking. A super important part of our campaign at the moment is a public education and messaging campaign communicating on the harms of oil and gas extraction in Colorado. And then moving on to talk about roles. Sandra may reach out with additional roles and needs later, but she will certainly need a co-chair for the Fracking Action Committee. This would involve helping plan and facilitate the meetings that occur twice monthly. She'll also need a watchdog to help keep track of what the agencies that regulate this industry are doing, and then people to amplify and help create communications to educate the public and our legislators on the harms created by this industry in the state. So for that role, you could get as little or as much involved as you want. You could just make sure you log on to social media and like, comment, and share all of our messaging posts, or you could help create content. And I think I've caught us back up on time, and I'll pass it off to the next person.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you, Matt. So now that you've heard about our kind of outward facing movement building and campaigns and the things that are super important, our last thing here to touch on are our operations, which kind of weave between the internal and the external, that being fundraising and communications. I will send it over to Bridget.
Yes, thank you. So, like Chelsea said, my role is the development director, and I have more of a not outward, inward facing role. And for those that don't know, fundraising plays such a pivotal role in sustaining and advancing the mission of 350 Colorado, though it might not be front and center. And it provides the necessary financial resources to operate effectively and continue to push towards a sustainable future and our mission. Um, and so what that looked like is like from supporting ongoing programs, initiating new pressing projects, fundraising ensures a steady income stream that enables us to make real tangible impact and continue our work. It also fosters a sense of community involvement and collaboration. We bring together a shared purpose, creating a network of supporters who are invested in ensuring a climate just future together. And so, what that looks like is relationship building with different businesses, donors, and community partners. And I think we can go on to the next one into roles. So there's a lot of different roles, and it might not be as cookie cutter as the other groups, as the other teams, just because it's kind of on a case by case basis. But one major role is attending and co-chairing our fundraising committee meetings and play an active role in our fundraising work through that. And that is pretty standard. We meet every other week for an hour, and you would work with me to kind of set up the agenda and then also kind of come up with creative solutions and projects of what we can talk about during the meeting. Another thing is lead, connect, and form partnerships with larger donors, philanthropists, foundations, companies, and businesses. This can also take form in outreach and research, setting up meetings and finding creative ways to raise money. So it's kind of, if you're interested, we can talk one-on-one, and this would be also like a case-by-case basis, kind of whatever you have capacity for. But I'm kind of envisioning 1 to 2 hours a week to kind of formulate that research and begin that outreach. And then we also have our mid and end of year fundraisers, which happen both in May and November. And this is where we kind of need an all hands on deck situation. We need a lot more support during these 2 months, whether it be letter writing, phone banking, sending emails, video design, or graphic creation. Also video creation. There's a lot of ways to tap into during these fundraisers. And you'll hear more about that on our fundraising calls too. But yeah, during those 2 months, we have a lot going on. And then lastly, this is a little bit bigger, but hosting house parties or leading fundraising events. This can also be more on a case by case basis, but if you have a great network in Colorado or interested to bring all your friends together and raise donations for 350 Colorado, whether that be at like a trivia event at a brewery or your own house party or a potluck, that is another option. And that's kind of a case by case basis as well, kind of with your capacity. But yeah, there's a lot of fun ways to tap into fundraising and to connect with your community and connect with donors that want to, yeah, kind of give back. So it's been really amazing to see that. I'll pass it back to Chelsea.
Actually, I think
Sorry, Matt, it's all you.
no worries, no worries. Cool. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our communications operations area as well. Our staff lead here, Allie, would be your main point of contact here, and she is great and is crushing it in so many ways, but could definitely use some help. So yeah, our communications department turns people power into public momentum by shaping narratives and amplifying community voices and building support for bold climate justice all across Colorado. One of the biggest ways that we do that is with our LTE committee, which stands for Letters to the Editor. It trains you all and supports you all to respond to the news cycle and elevate all kinds of different voices yeah, ensuring that decision makers hear it. They're then published obviously, and you can get these press hits, and your name is attached to it, which is also kind of cool personally as well. Um, and yeah, it's really important, I think, and I think we could all agree to hear from individuals and how they feel about what's going on. Um, yeah, outside of that, talking a little bit about our long-term and our short-term goals here, like with shifting the public narrative and everything that's going on with that. That's something that takes a long time, but it definitely can help, using social media and these LTE opportunities. So kind of earlier, like what Chelsea was saying, if you're interested in like working on graphic design, if you have, skills when it comes to social media optimization, you want to get involved, this would be a way for you to go forward there. And in the short term, obviously, sometimes be creating these events for if you're someone so and so's doing a Fossil for Your Life home tour, and they're going to be showcasing how they electrified their home. Creating a blurb for it, or if maybe we're going out and we're doing some sort of big rally downtown or a press conference, maybe helping draft a press release. The opportunities are pretty wide with this one, and I think it can really apply to whatever you find to be most interesting within it. Um, I know that Allie also is open for one-on-ones as well. So we'll be dropping some of our different scheduling links in the chat below. Uh, but yeah, if you're looking to connect with us on a deeper level, you definitely can as well. So final thing I would say here is we also do a lot of emails that we're sending out. And if you wanted to maybe contribute to part of that statewide email and write a little section, write a little blurb, I'm sure she'd be open to that as well. So yeah, that's the majority of it here. So I'll jump over to roles. And I kind of talked about roles in the middle of all that. So yeah, as you can kind of see what's there. That social media activist role, that can be everything from, helping design, like I just said, or, just amplifying the posts, reposting on your story, all of that good stuff. I mentioned the LTE committee there in the newsletter committee. But if you're a writer and you want to use that part of your brain to move forward, and maybe you're not as big on the public speaking side of things, that's a great way to plug in. And then, yeah, digital advertising and messaging. So if you have any, SMO or any of those marketing skills and you'd want to apply them to our digital advertising and messaging services, I know Allie would love to have you on board. So that's kind of the gist of communications. And I think I'll pass it back to Chelsea to round us out with a poll here.
Thanks so much, y'all. You just heard so many cool things, all the layers that make up our work at 350 Colorado, from movement building to campaigns to operations. And so we'd love to hear from y'all here, kind of the things that stuck out to you, the things that interested you. I'm going to launch a poll here that should hopefully pop up, and you can select more than one of these options. In fact, I think more than just these options on the screen are going to show up. And so with this launching, yeah, check the boxes of the things that interest you. It would be really nice for us to see what kind of ways that we could support you going forward from here. So hopefully everyone can see that okay. And again, you are able to select more than one thing that interests you. Nice. Okay, starting to see some live results come through. Some fundraising support, some research and writing. Nice. An equal split right now on the online statewide committee meetings, the in-person local team meetings, which is great. I think a blend of those is an approach a lot of people take that helps. Some climate lobby day takers to be in Denver in March, as Matt talked about. Let's give like 15 more seconds here. If you selected something else, that's totally fine, because there are things that we did not have time to touch on tonight. And one of the most wonderful things about grassroots organizing is that the sky is the limit, and needs change sometimes from day to day. So while we're naming these things as ways that we need people to activate, there could be very much so new opportunities that come up in the coming weeks and months. And so connecting with us directly will be a part of getting to the bottom of that and making sure you feel supported. Cool. Okay. I'm going to close the poll. And I promise by you filling it out, it did not adhere you to something or sign you up for something that you have to do now. This is just really useful for us to have a sense of, yeah, how things can move forward past tonight and how we can best support you. Thanks, y'all. Yeah, we are just here coming up on the top of the hour, and we always want to be mindful of your time. So we are bundling it up to go forward here. And we just want to really reiterate how much each and every one of us want to be able to connect with you. Tonight is hopefully just a stepping stone and getting to know us and get to know one another. But having an opportunity now to hear of the breadth of opportunities and the many ways in which you can get involved, hopefully has activated you in a way to, yeah, get started. And consider the different roles or leadership that you're willing to try out and make a difference in. We dropped a couple resources in our chat earlier around our calendar and then resources from Matt. I'm also dropping our action dashboard in the chat, which is a super important tool to keep an eye on. We update it every single week, and we have different categories such as in person, online, public comment opportunities, hybrid opportunities. And that's always a great place to check out to see what is going on and how you can plug in. So keep that link handy, keep that calendar handy, very useful to use. And if you're not following us on social media, on our Instagram or Facebook account or on Blue Sky, please do. Those QR codes will take you there. It can be found at 350 Colorado. And yeah, Steve.
So hey, quick question on the on the chat. If people want to be able to access the links on there easily to save that chat, let's say in a form of some type, what's the best way to do that?
Great question. I will be sending a follow-up email to everybody probably tomorrow that will have a recording of this call if you wanted to refresh on something. And we'll also capture all of those links in the chat so that, yeah, if you opened them up tonight, but then you close out your browser later or something, we'll make sure that you get them in a follow-up email and then can make use of it that way.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I wanted to throw in one quick thing at the end here. I'm up in Roaring Fork Valley. I don't know if you guys know that, and you probably do know that Eileen is taking the spot that I was doing, as long as that's proved, and then that'll be good. So that'll be kind of engaging Roaring Fork Valley with a new leadership person, but also volunteers to help her, which I plan on being one. So thanks for this call, but I just wanted to give you an update on that as well.
Thank you. Yes, that's a good point too, that kind of as Heidi mentioned, with Sandra joining, we're going to have new teammates that are going to be joining different teams and campaigns. And so we need maybe a little extra support, right? As new people on our side get started. And if you're new as well and you feel overwhelmed, just know that, again, we got each other's back. And so we can help one another in that process of getting more familiar with things. And so thank you again so much, y'all, for being here, for sharing a little bit about yourselves, for listening. Those are our emails there to get a hold of us. I know you all have already gotten emails from me for tonight's call, but please do not hesitate to reach out. So much of grassroots organizing can move forward seamlessly when we just kind of get to know each other a little bit more. So just having that opportunity to connect on Zoom, chat on the phone, maybe get coffee if we're in the same area. There's a lot of ways that we can go about doing that. Because we can do this. We can do this, y'all, no matter how daunting it feels. Movements are born of critical connections rather than critical mass. And so let's get to know each other. Let's support one another and make 2026 a really awesome year so that we can get a year from now and reflect back on all the incredible progress we made despite the challenges that we faced. Thank you again for being here so much.
Thank you, good people.